Okay, I have another tier list for you, and these are the albums by heavy metal band, except. So I have all the albums going from 1979 up until the new one, Humanoid, that was just released. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into this. So the first album is called Accept, it's self-titled from 1979. It's not too bad. Sounds like traditional heavy metal. It was released in 1979. The first two tracks are pretty good, called Lady Lou and Sea Winds is pretty good. Some laid back tracks, and they have Peter Boltis on vocals. He's the bass player. So back then, Peter Boltis did some vocals. Some of the stuff sounds like early Scorpions, such as the song Free Me Now. That one had like a 70s rock sound. And the song Glad to Be Alone had some like classical playing and a lot of rock sound. It's not too bad. It's a mix of hard rock and heavy metal. It's pretty good, but I'm gonna put it in C because it's gonna be like some stuff that's a lot better. A year later, they released I'm a Rebel. So this has the title track. This is like the best song. It was actually originally written for the band AC/DC, but Accept did this. It's a fun song. It's almost like a punk rock type of song, but otherwise, the rest of the album is just okay. They're going for more of a commercial sound. We have the song Save Us, that's a hard rock song. No Time to Lose, it's a power ballad. China Lady, that's a hard rocker with the sound of the 70s. I Want to Be No Hero is some traditional heavy metal. This album's like okay, but other than like the one good song, there's like not really that much memorable on here. So I'm going to put this in D. But now we have Breaker from 1981. This is where the band starts to sound like Accept. This is the start of the peak of the Udo Dirkschneider years, like the original years. I think we have a great opener called Starlight, and this one you immediately hear like the difference in their sound. It's a really great song. They get like a little faster and heavier on this track. This title track is really awesome. Has a signature guitar riff. Run If You Can, has a cool galloping rhythm, and Can't Stand the Night, which is a metal ballad. And then they have a song called Son of a Bitch, which is funny because they use like a lot of swear words in the lyrics. So it's overall very good heavy metal album. I think it's solid. And this one is going up to A because I think it's like that good. Now, a year later, they released Restless and Wild from 1982. Now, this one, they got heavier. Now, this one has Fast as a Shark as the opener, and this is probably one of the first thrash metal songs. It came out in 1982. This is like right before Metallica's Kill 'Em All. So this is like some heavy thrash, but then the rest of the stuff is really good. Head of the Pack is more traditional heavy metal. They have a power ballad called Neon Nights, not to be confused with the Black Sabbath. Then they have Princess of the Night, which is another great song, not to be confused with that Saxon song. But anyway, awesome album. I mean, this is like perfection, S tier. Now we have Balls to the Wall. This is their most popular album. We have the title track, classic song. I remember I used to watch this on Headbangers Ball. They used to play it all the time. But then they have London Leather Boys. This is some classic heavy metal. They have Head Over Heels, which has that classic 80s sound. And I think this sound, they start to bring in that glam metal sounds. Like you can hear this influence from this album in like other bands like from the 80s. But other great songs, we have Love Child, Losers and Winners, then the ballad Winter Dreams. Another solid album. I'm putting this up in the S tier. I'm going to put it actually ahead of Restless and Wild. Now, 1985, the band is really big now. They released a follow-up to Balls from the Wall. And then we have Metal Heart from 1985. Now, this one, it gets a little more commercial. I know a lot of people like this album. I didn't like it at first. It's been growing on me, so it's going to be higher than I originally put it when I first did my ranking video. So this one has some good stuff on it. You have Midnight Mover, that's a classic song. You got other stuff, sounds like Judas Priest. You have the song Screaming for a Love Bite. Then we have the song Teach Us to Survive with some cool guitar work. And Living for Tonight, which is a heavy metal anthem. This one has like a lot of like classic heavy metal, some arena rock. and moving into like a glam metal sound. This one I'm gonna put in B. I think other people might have it higher, but that's where I'm putting it. Now, a year later, Russian Roulette from 1986. This is another one. I ranked it kind of low when I first did my ranking, but this one has grown on me a lot. I think like this, out of all the albums, like this one has probably gone up like the most. So we have a Monster Man, just classic, typical 80s sound. The title track, more of a laid-back metal song. It's hard to find a way. This is a power ballad with a catchy arena rock chorus, aiming high. This is some awesome traditional heavy metal, heaven is hell. Really cool deep cut with slow and heavy sound. And then they have some stuff that sounds like AC/DC sounding. So a lot of the stuff that Accept used to do sounded like that. So this one is going to be higher than I used to have it. So I'm putting it up in A, but I'm going to put it actually, I put it ahead of Breaker. I actually like this one a lot. So this one's going right there. Okay, at this point in the band, Udo Dirk Schneider leaves the band. He forms his own band called Udo or UDO, whatever you want to call it. And they bring in a new vocalist whose name is David Reese. Now, this guy, he's a glam metal vocalist. He's a really good vocalist. He's talented. He can sing very well, but he just didn't like click with the band. I think he just wasn't a good match. Now, this album is mostly like a glam metal type of album or hair metal, whatever you want to talk about it. There's one really good song, Generation Clash. I really like that song. I think that one's super catchy. They actually remake it later. I'll get to that later. But then you have some stuff that sounds like Bon Jovi, like Prisoner. Then you have Love Sensation that's more like a blues rock. And the song D Train is pretty good. It's a hard rocker. I think there's just too much filler on here. I'm not going to put it in F. I don't think it's like that bad, but I'm going to put it at the bottom at D. I'm going to put it like behind Our Rebel because I think it just wasn't really a good fit for him. Okay, now we have a series of albums that are very underrated. Udo Dirkschneider comes back in the band and Accept to release 3 albums in the 90s, and they're almost like 1 year apart from each other. I think it's like 1 year and then 2 years later. And these are really heavy 90s sounding albums. People don't talk about them. I think they're very underrated. Well, let's get into it. 1993, Objection Overruled. So this is the first of the 90s Udo albums. This one is pretty good. It's they get like a little heavier from their like late 80s stuff. We have the title track, I Don't Want to Be Like You. That's some classic like Accept sound. That one sounds like a little 80s, but then the rest of the stuff is heavier, like Protectors of Terror. That was pretty cool. Slaves to Metal, very heavy, also kind of cheesy. They have a power ballad, All or Nothing, and then one song that stands out, and I think they still play this live sometimes, called Amamos La Vida, and that's like another power ballad. So this one is also like really good, and it's definitely underrated. So I'm going to put this one in B tier. I'll put it behind Metal Heart, though. Now, Death Row is from 1994. This one came out a year later. I think this is actually my favorite. And I like it because they're a little more experimental. Sounds like something from the 90s. So we get the opening track, Death Row. The guitar sounds like Rage Against the Machine. I think they might have been influenced by that. You have Sodom and Gomorrah. This is like some speed metal. They turn up the speed on that. Dead On. It's has some heavy riffs, and this is also a long album. Like it's over in like an hour long, but I like it. They have some heavy stuff, some alternative stuff, and some classic Accept. But there's some stuff that sounds like AC/DC, like the song "Bad Habits Die Hard," and then they have Generation Clash 2, which is kind of almost the same song as the original. So I like this one, pretty solid. I think like this is the best of the 90s album. So I'm going to put it in A, but I'll put it behind Breaker. Now we have Predator from 1996. So this is the third of the 90s albums, also the last with Udo Dirkschneider. This one goes back to some of their traditional sounds, got some blues rock. We have the opening song, Heart Attack. That's pretty cool, mix of heavy metal and blues. Then Making Me Scream has more of like a 90s alternative with typical heavy metal. Then the song Digging in the Dirt. I like this one. It's like groove metal. I think they were trying to like channel Pantera on this one, but really hit a song called "Lay It Down." This one actually has Peter Baltes doing some vocals. He's actually going to leave the band like a little later on. I'll get to that later. And then a song called "Take Out the Crime," which is a really cool guitar riff on this one. This one is not too bad. Maybe probably B tier. And I think I'm gonna put it ahead of Objection Overruled. I think I like it a little better than that. Okay. Now the band pretty much broke up. They took a break for 14 years, but then they decided to get back together. I think they reunited in 2009 and they released this album in 2010 called Blood of the Nations. This is the first with vocalist Mark Tornillo, and really great comeback album. Yeah, the opening track, Beat Up the Bastards. You got Mark Tornillo showing off his vocals, got Teutonic Terror, some classic heavy metal, really great hook, really great chorus. Title track Blood of the Nations is an awesome track. That one's really catchy and sing-alongable. Then you have the big epic track called Shades of Death. It's has some heavy guitar sounds, has orchestration, and it's a long song at like 7 minutes. Like this band usually doesn't do long songs, but this one's like very long and epic. And then a song called Pandemic, which actually came 10 years before the real pandemic. I remember I used to listen to that one back in 2020. So solid album, one of the best comeback albums of all time. And this one's going all the way up here. I'm going to put this all the way up at the top. 2 years later, they released Stalingrad. Another solid follow-up, Blood of the Nations. Mark Tornillo still in the band, and then we have lots of great songs. Title track Stalingrad, very good, very melodic. I think a lot of songs are very heavy and very melodic. I think like that's what I have to say about this album. But other great songs, Flash to Bang Time. That was like some speed metal. They have a melodic power ballad called Shadow Soldiers. They have a song called Against the World. Some traditional heavy metal and has a sound going back to the early 80s. And then there was that song called Twist of Fate, which has some blues rock in it. But this is mostly just straightforward heavy metal. Like I said, it's a very melodic album. And all these Mark Tornillo albums are like really good. So I'm going to be like putting these ones up pretty high. This one's going to go up in A tier. I'm going to put it ahead of Breaker. Now we have Blind Rage from 2014, another one with Mark Tornillo. So lots of great songs here. Dark Side of My Heart, more traditional heavy metal. I think people in the comments were comparing it to a song from Metal Heart called Up to the Limit. There's a song For the Empire, really cool guitar riff. Song Trail of Tears. This one's kind of sounds like power metal. It has that really fast drum beat. And Want to Be Free. That one has some really great lyrics. They're talking about like human trafficking and all the war and terror and just all the problems in the world. Another one, 200 Years. That one's cool. Some traditional heavy metal. And From the Ashes We Rise, some blues rock and heavy metal. This one's not too bad. I think out of all of the Tornillo albums, I think this one might, I'm going to put it like behind, I'll put it behind Breaker. I think it's like a little less than Breaker. Okay. 2017, The Rise of Chaos. So we have some lineup changes here. So this one has a new drummer, a new guitarist, Uwe Lewis, and the new drummer, Christopher Williams, and two longtime members, Herman Frank and Stefan Schwartzman, leave the band. And also, this is the last album with Peter Baltes, who has been in the band for a long time. So, and this was also produced by Andy Steep, who actually produced all the Mark Tornillo albums, if I'm not mistaken. So this one I like a lot. It's really underrated. We got Die by the Sword, very fast and heavy song. Rise of Chaos, which is like some melodic heavy metal. A song called Kool-Aid. This is about the people who died in the 1978 Jonestown massacre when they were drinking the Kool-Aid with cyanide. That's a really good song. Then they have a song called Analog Man, which is kind of funny. They're talking about like the old days when they used to have records and 8-track players. And now everything is online and digital and streaming and all that. So it's kind of pretty cool song. This one's really good. I think like this is like one of their better ones. So I'm gonna put this one. I'm gonna put this one actually up in S, but like more like towards that, which would be at number 4. Then we have the two newer ones from 2021, and then I'll get to the new one from 2024. I think at this point in the band, they start to get cheesy. I think that's a good word for these next two albums, but they're still very good. So 2021, Too Mean to Die. I remember when this one came out, I did the review of it and I did a ranking video, which I'll probably like link to the end screen if you want me to. This one is good. So we have some new members. We have Martin Motnik, and he replaced Peter Boltes. So, like I said, Peter Boltes was his last album, on the one before that. And this one has another guy, rhythm guitarist, Philip Schaus, and they're on Napalm Records on this album. So we got Zombie Apocalypse, is pretty cool, kind of cheesy, heavy metal. Too Mean to Die, just a really good metal song. Overnight Sensation, talking about like social media and all that. The Undertaker, that was one of the singles. That's like a darker song. Sucks to Be You. That's one of like the fun songs with those like big like AC/DC style choruses. And then we have some like power ballads like towards the end of the album. This one is decent, but I think it's like a step down from some of the other ones, but I think it's still pretty good. But I'm gonna put this in B tier, but I'm gonna actually not put it behind Metal Heart because it's good, but like not that great. Now we have Humanoid. This is what I just reviewed. It's another one that's like good, but it's like not like a super great album. But I think it's a little better than the one right before, which was Too Mean to Die. So another one, very cheesy album, but it's a mixture of traditional heavy metal and some of that stuff that's like bad, like AC/DC type of stuff. For example, they have a drinking song called Straight Up Jack. That's like a very AC/DC type of song. Frankenstein, about the monster Frankenstein, that one was really cool. Humanoid, about AI. The Reckoning, there's another good song. Mind Games, that one's pretty cool. Deep track. So I did a full review of this. I'll link that one as well to the end screen so you can see it. I don't need to spend too much time talking about this one, but I thought this one is good. Again, it's better. I'm gonna actually put it. I'm gonna put it in B. I'm gonna just put it like right behind Metal Heart. I think it's just like a little step up above Too Mean to Die, but it's not awesome. It's like in the middle of the discography. So that is all. So this is my ranking. So in S tier, so I do it. If you want to see like a numbered ranking, would be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And Humanoid would be 11. Too Mean to Die would be 12, then 13, 14, and 15, 16, 17. I think the only like kind of weak albums are these three here. Everything else I think is very good. They're all strong albums, I would say. So that is all. Thanks for watching. I'll stick some other videos. I'll put the original Accept ranking. I'll put my review of Too Mean to Die, and I'll put my review of Humanoid, so you can watch whichever one you prefer of those next. So thanks for watching. Please like this video, all that good stuff.